Tonight on News Hour, House of Representatives raises budget 2022 to 17 trillion naira. 10 awaiting trial inmates in Katsina granted bail to decongest custodial facility. Governors, lawmakers draw battle line over Electoral Act Amendment Bill. And on the foreign scene, Libya Electoral Commission dissolves poll committees. Hello and welcome to News Hour. I am Ibrahim Yusuf. The House of Representatives has passed the 2022 budget estimate of 17.12 trillion naira as against the 16.39 trillion naira proposed by President Buhari. This followed the consideration of the report of the House of Representatives Appropriations Committee at the Committee of Supply chaired by the Speaker, Femi Gbajabiamila, at plenary today. The report.
The approved 2022 appropriation bill increased by 736 billion naira, and the breakdown of the budget showed that statutory transfer is to GOP 869.667 billion naira, recurrent expenditure of 6.910 trillion naira, capital expenditure of 5.467 trillion naira, and debt services of 3.870 trillion naira for the year 2022. Shortly after the passage of the budget, in remarks to wrap up the year, Speaker Femi Gbajabiamila said it is now abundantly clear that the legislature needs to act to reform the envelope system currently in place because it imposes conditions that do not make for optimal outcomes. He maintained it was high time Nigeria started considering options for merging agencies where there are significant overlap in functions and responsibilities, and scrapping other institutions where their utility is no longer apparent.
In consideration of the 2022 appropriation bill, we were inundated with the requests for funding from ministries, departments, and agencies of government, all of whom require additional funding to effectively discharge their mandates. We recognize the genuine urgency of many of these requests, and we have tried within the reality of limited revenues to meet the most critical needs. However, one thing that is now abundantly clear is that the legislature needs to act to reform the envelope system currently in place because it imposes conditions that do not make for optimal outcomes. At the same time, we must begin also to consider options for merging agencies where there is a significant overlap in functions and responsibilities, and scrapping other institutions where their utility is no longer apparent.
The 2022 budget, as worked on by the appropriation committees on both the House and the Senate, is a proposal for an aggregate expenditure of 17.126 trillion, which is an increase of 26% over in 2021 estimates. It is also includes the following components: capital expenditure 5.476 trillion, recurrent expenditure 6.909 trillion, statutory transfers 869.667 billion.
In the same vein, the House passed through third reading the Finance Bill, which seeks to amend the Capital Gains Tax Act, Companies Income Tax Act, Federal Inland Revenue Service Act, Personnel Income Tax Act, Tertiary Education Trust Act, Value-Added Tax Act, Insurance Act, Nigeria Police Trust Fund Act, National Agency for Science and Engineering Infrastructure Act, Finance Control and Management Act, Fiscal Responsibility Act, and for other related matters.
The total sum of 215 billion 811 million 290,240 naira, out of which 119 billion 68 million only is for personnel cost, and 60 billion 16 million naira only is for overhead cost, and 35 billion 97 million naira only is for capital cost for the year ending 31st December 2022. Mr. Speaker, I also move.
The House, however, adjourned sitting to January 18, 2022 to enable members to celebrate Yuletide with a caveat to reconvene should there be any emergency.
Now, Sunday Michael is the Deputy Business Editor, Daily Trust, and he's joining us right now in the studio to discuss the 2022 budget recently passed by the House of Representatives. You're welcome, sir.
It's a pleasure to be here.
All right, thank you very much. So the House of Representatives has passed the 2022 budget with an increase of 700 billion. Well, Senate concurrence is actually required before presidential assent, actually, in these kind of situations. So from a business perspective, should we expect any change in terms of service delivery and projects implementation?
The passage of the budget is one thing, and the actual implementation is another. And what we have seen from a trend analysis is the implementation is also a function of revenue. So it is one thing to propose to spend so much. It's another thing for you to earn also so much to be able to finance some of these expenditures. So whilst the budget figures looks quite huge, it will be a real struggle, from what we are beginning to see with the turn of things and the way the Omicron virus is catching up with the world, with some advanced economy already proposing another phase of lockdown. If that continues to happen, then we are beginning to see some kind of bleak future for early 2022. But if not, and all projections are what we assume they would be, then chances are that we may make some amount of money to be able to drive this budget.
Okay. So, but if things do take a turn for the worse, how do you propose we balance it?
The only thing known to convention is to borrow. We will go back a borrowing as we have always done. Yes. And we may then begin to look at different dynamics, whether to borrow locally or to borrow largely from the international sources. Those are some of those options. Some other experts have also suggested selling moribund government assets that are not yielding any capitals to fund these things. Some others are coming up with other interesting ideas, like even handing up certain projects that can finance themselves. For instance, some experts have said the government really does not have any business financing the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway, when tolling that road alone can finance its reconstruction and continue to maintain the road. There are quite a number of those other options across other parts of the world, like the Abuja Kano Expressway. So one or two projects like that can attract private fundings without necessarily getting the government to put hard-earned resources in those areas. So those are ingenious ways of freeing up capitals and yet achieving results, as we saw, for instance, earlier today with the NNPC and the Federal Ministry of Works, giving out tax credits to people who are willing to use what should have been taxes to the government coffers to build our roads. Those are all innovative ways of financing the budget.
Okay, so we'll play it by ear and then we'll figure it out as we go.
Absolutely, that is what it is actually. That is what it is.
All right. Well, lawmakers also passed the finance bill, and many believe the finance bill will impose more taxes on ordinary Nigerians to be able to get revenue and to facilitate some of the things the government is proposing. So what does the passing of the finance bill actually mean to ordinary Nigerians?
Now, the finance bill, gives a legal impetus to some of the fiscal activities of government. For instance, they are not able to retrieve certain amount of taxes or certain kind of taxes except it is specified by law. This is something that happens always, except if the government decides to go with whatever they have in the preceding year. As you would recall, just in 2021, we had another finance bill signed into law from where we increased value-added tax to 7.5%. And so there are quite a number of other areas where we have had issues, and like the stamp duty collection, that has been embroiled in some kind of controversies in the years past. These are areas where the new finance bill, attempts to address, so that moving forward, an agency is designated to collect these stamp duties, and it becomes an extra source of income to government. So the government is exploring all avenues available to it, to raise more capital. So sometimes it's not necessarily about taxing people more, about bringing more people into the tax net. As you are aware, even though we have a working population of over 40 million, the active taxpayers in this country are not more than 3 million. So it means quite a number of our populations are outside the tax basket. And what this innovative bill attempts to do is to find other ways to bring these people into the tax net so that we can harvest a bit more, from that basket, to support fiscal activities.
Well, so we're going by just what you've alluded to, previous finance bills have actually brought some controversial, let's say, additions to certain taxes and whatnot. Don't you feel that going by those antecedents, people the fear is justified now that this will bring in more taxation?
Yeah, if it was going to bring in more taxes, then it would have specified in very clear terms that, for instance, VAT would now be 10%, and that becomes really very, very clear. But those were not the case. There were quite a number of other gray areas the government wanted to iron out. If you recall, the finance minister was also saying that we are likely to see another proposition mid-year as they resolve some of the issues like the collection of taxes, even between states and federal governments, as the scenarios become clearer and agreements are reached, a bill will be proposed to concretize what those agreements are and to take them forward. So, yeah, people have the right to be skeptical. People have the right to be cynical. I mean, business people do business in a country where they have to provide everything for themselves. Exactly. So that sets you back several miles before you start thinking of competing with your peers from other parts of the world. To begin to contemplate anything that would increase that financial burden on businesses will be herculean. And ultimately, it will be you and I who will be burning the cost anyway, So everybody has the right to be worried. And some of the concerns that were expressed are genuine. They are not misplaced. But they've come out repeatedly to say they are not looking at a tax increase, They are looking at bringing more people into the tax net,
All right. Well, Sunday Michael there, Deputy Business Editor for Daily Trust, talking about the finance bill and, of course, the proposed budget 2022. Thank you very much for coming on.
It's my pleasure again.
All right. Okay, so it's still News Hour on Trust TV. Moving on to other stories. Civil society organizations want the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, to furnish Nigerians with need assessment to justify its 305 billion naira proposed spending for 2022. The CSOs, while reacting to the proposal submitted to the National Assembly, tasked the nation's electoral umpire to cut unnecessary spendings and possible duplications. Trust TV's Shafiu Suleiman now reports.
Speaking on the proposed INEC budget, convener Raising New Voices Jude Ferrami, Awal Musarab Sanjani of Sislak, and Hamza Lawal of Code demand greater transparency and prudent management of taxpayers' money to justify the proposed spendings.
A lot of expenses were incurred in the previous years, and the question is, what are we doing with all the facilities, with all the equipment, with all the vehicles and other infrastructure that INEC procure?
But let's not dwell in debating INEC's budget. Yes, it's important that as taxpayers we must also hold INEC to account, but this is an electoral body who is saddled with a constitutional responsibility to ensure free, credible and timely elections.
It is clear that things are emerging, and if Ondo state elections and Anambra state elections are anything to go by, what it means is that we are getting some kind of improvement.
They also speak on the need for INEC to account for the huge sum of resources being expended to guarantee value for money.
A public procurement process requires that they would have conducted a number of these procurement exercises 6 months before the use. And we know that INEC has postponed elections now for different logistical reasons. And so they might be arguing that they don't want that to repeat itself.
It's important that looking at our economic situation in the country, to do everything possible to minimize waste, duplication, and unnecessary spending. Nigeria is still battling with recession. The economy is so bad, it's so poor.
We all know that electoral logistics take a lot of money. We have millions of first-time voters, and with the current technology integration on registering new voters, of course, we've seen an increase in citizens' participation. So I am not surprised that their budget has also increased.
Chairman, Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, had presented a budget proposal of 305 billion naira for the yearly expenditure of the Commission and the financial requirement for effective preparation for the 2023 elections. Shafiu Suleiman, Trust TV News, Abuja.
Governor of Kaduna State, Nasiru El-Rufai, says there's nothing like repentant bandits. Rather, he requested for the intervention of President Buhari for more deployment of security forces and a comprehensive operation. The governor stated this on Tuesday while fielding questions from State House reporters after meeting with President Muhammadu Buhari on the recent attack that claimed 40 lives in the state.
About 3 days ago, the bandits attacked the villages and essentially killed anyone that they could find and burnt down houses and produce. It is one of the worst incidents we've had in the state in quite a while. I think the last time we had anything close to that was in 20, in Kaura, 38 people, and then we had 50 people in Kerawa in Igabi local government. So I went to visit the displaced persons and offered the condolences and sympathies of Mr. President to them, and also announced a series of measures that will be taken to ameliorate their suffering as well as restore order so that they can go back to their homes. I came to the villa to give details to Mr. President and to convey the appreciation of the people for his message, as well as seek for greater intervention of federal security forces to degrade further the activities of bandits in the state. Well, the president was saddened by these attacks and promised to continue to support the Kaduna State government in every way to bring an end to these challenges. He assured me that he'll be holding meeting with the security chiefs in the next few days to further articulate a holistic strategy to address the insecurity in the Northwest in particular. There has been some improvement in Kaduna State, but this incident was quite a shock to us. And in my view, it is because the operations are being carried out piecemeal in states. So when they are attacked in one state, they move to another. So what is required is a comprehensive operation that will cover the 5 states in the Northwest and North Central if this banditry is to be ended. With the declaration of the bandits as terrorists, I think the wherewithal and the legal justification for wiping them out has been granted by our courts. So we hope to see more intense and more coordinated operations across Niger, Kaduna, Katsina, Zamfara, Sokoto, and Kebbi states.
Now, residents of Games Village Estate in Abuja are still in shock over the murder of a 37-year-old radiologist, Dr. Obialo Ibe, working with Zenith Medical Lab and Kidney Center, and his friend and housemate, Ezekiel Edoja, who were reportedly murdered at his residence. Trust TV's Nafisa Abdul Al visits the estates and reports that fear has gripped residents who want justice for the departed soul of the medical practitioner.
A resident at the Games Village estate who insisted on anonymity said although information passed on has been quite limited due to the nature of the incident, investigation has been handed over to the estate security and police.
The reality is the way people heard, we too we heard. I just came out like the next day and one of the neighbors was telling me, oh, did I hear that someone was killed? You understand? A doctor, that's the only thing I know. They said something that a doctor who was supposed to travel to go and see his fiancé, to go and join his fiancé. But the only thing the estate has been able to tell us, or the only report we got, which is why I was looking at the news, I know they said the body was deposited at Federal Medical Center, and that he was supposed to join his fiancée. He was with a cousin or somebody in the house, and they were both murdered. There was no sign of forced entry. It looked like whoever came to whether butcher them had like eaten and drank with them. Yes, and there was a case. Till today, I really don't know that part of. Some people say the body was dismembered. Some people say no, they were just murdered. And but when did this incident happen? I can't remember the day. Okay, they are saying this happened. It was even. It looks like. Well, it looks like it was even in the morning. Yes. No. This happened since like Tuesday or Wednesday last week. Because I know what I hear is this somebody who used to whether live with him or who used to work for him. You know, I don't have his name. He's on the run, and that's the person they're looking for. That's the best they've shared for us on the platform. But because it's obviously a homicide and it has scared all the residents because they are investigating, they won't want to give out so much information. All they are saying is that the person who lives with him, what we don't know is the status of the person, whether a helper or whatever is on the run, and that's who the police is looking for at the moment.
The chief security officer at the estate confirmed that the victims were murdered last week Monday.
I not know anything because I was not on duty. You know something where I know they are not be saying anything. But what you want to know is that is it true that somebody was murdered? That is what you want to confirm. Yes. Okay, it's true. Yes. How many people are they murdered? Two people were murdered.
Efforts to get comments from the police were, however, unsuccessful. Nafisa Abdul Al, Trust TV News, Abuja.
Over 10 people awaiting trial at the Katsina Central Custodial Facility have been admitted to bail by the Katsina State Chief Judge, Justice Musa Dalladi Abubakar. The inmates were admitted to bail largely on health grounds, overstay, being underage, and those with minor offences. The idea is to decongest the correctional facilities and make those admitted to bail become responsible members of society. In Katsina, Trust Television News reporter Abdullahi Ahmadi completes the story.
Shortly before the commencement of the exercise, the Katsina State Chief Judge, Justice Musa Dalladi Abubakar, stressed the need for all stakeholders to brace up for the challenges, especially those bordering on welfare, health and rehabilitation of inmates at the correctional facilities of the state.
We are aware that I've issued directives on remand and sentencing. We have not been putting them into practice, but by January, inshallah, we will have a workshop of all stakeholders so that we get the nitty and gritty of the directions, as well as the provisions of the correctional service that has been reformed.
Adjourning the exercise until the 27th of December 2021, the Katsina State Chief Judge commended the personnel manning the facility for the professionalism and adequate management of the correctional center. He charged the personnel to be extra vigilant and observe any strange movement that may lead to jailbreak, which has never happened in Kano State.
In the meantime, we have to take into consideration the fact that correctional service has been going through a lot of challenges, particularly jailbreaks, that efforts are being taken to contain them. We thank God that we didn't record any in Katsina, except near jailbreak when the controller one time reported to me the tension that has been generated in the prison.
The Kano State Commissioner of Justice, Barrister Ahmad El Marzouk, commended the police and all other stakeholders and urged them to remain committed to decongesting the custodial facility.
What we are after is also to enhance human rights by way of protecting lives and property of the citizens. That's why it is in our own interest and it is our job, core job, to see that offenders are prosecuted and punished. Now, in doing that, processes have to be followed. We know the handicap that we all entertain or we have, various offices we have. The judiciary, they have their own challenges and they have their own liabilities as well. We in government, we have our own challenges. Government means the executive, represent the executive in the justice sector. We have our own challenges and we have our own liabilities. The police also have their own challenges.
He charged the police and the Kano State Ministry of Justice to make adequate preparations ahead of the next sitting. In Katsina, Abdullahi Ismayamadi reporting for Trust Television News.
Ogun State Sector Commander of the Federal Road Safety Corps, Ahmad Umar Yandu, has urged the newly inducted safety marshals in the state to be committed and vigilant while conducting their duty as volunteers. Umar Yandu sent this in Abuja while inaugurating new volunteers to the commission. The report.
The new volunteers are entitled to certain benefits with insurance. This is to motivate them and complement the conventional road safety corps in ensuring that the roads are safe. The commander urges volunteers to observe all necessary measures of preventing the spread of COVID-19 pandemic while carrying out their duties during the Yuletide period.
Therefore, at this period of COVID-19, where on our routine operations will come in contact with members of the public, we direct that everybody must be wearing nose masks. There should be hand sanitizer, of course, provided for patrol operations. Anytime you have contact with vehicle, particularly sanitize your hands.
The sector commander also urged the corps marshals to be cautious while traveling due to security situations in the country, citing an example of a member of the special marshal who is killed by armed robbers in Ekiti State while on a journey from Kaduna.
Over 300 shops and goods worth millions of naira were destroyed in a fire outbreak in Kara Market, Sokoto. Chairman of the Sokoto Traders Association, Chika Seriki Gishiri, called on the state government to come to the aid of the affected traders by providing them with financial support. Daily Trust reports that the cause of the fire is unknown. Meanwhile, Governor Aminu Tambuwal, who is among the early callers at the scene of the incident, consoled the traders and urged them to take it in good faith. Represented by his deputy, Manir Iya, Tambuwal directed the Commissioner of Commerce and the President Sokoto Chamber of Commerce to take inventory of the damage caused by the fire. You're still watching Trust TV News Hour. Coming up after the break, the story of Abuja evicted residents. These and more after the break. Stay with us. The board and management of Media Trust Limited invites the general public to its annual Daily Trust Dialogue, themed 2023, The Politics, Economy and Insecurity. Date, 20th January 2022. Location, NAF Conference Center and Suites, Abuja. Time, 10 a.m. prompt. Chairman of the occasion, former Head of State, General Abdulsalami Abubakar, GCFR. Guest Speaker, Governor of Kaduna State, Malan Nasir Ahmed El Rufai. Guest Speaker, Governor of Ebonyi State, Engineer David Umahi. Guest Speaker, former Chairman, Federal Inland Revenue Service, Mrs. Ifueko Omoigui Okauru. Moderator, Executive Director, Daria Media Nigeria Limited, Kadariya Ahmed. The event will be transmitted live on Trust TV, and all participants must observe COVID-19 protocols and wear their face masks.
Get latest updates on current topical issues and breaking news by downloading the Trust TV mobile app on your Android devices. Go online, click Google Play Store, search Trust TV, install the app, and get doses of unfiltered information on happenings all over the world in your pocket. Trust TV, documenting the Nigerian story.
You're welcome back. If you're just joining us, this is News Hour on Trust TV. A look at some of our top stories. House of Representatives has passed the 2022 budget estimate of 17.12 trillion as against the 16.39 trillion naira proposed by the President Muhammadu Buhari. And in other news, a magistrate court in Yaba, Lagos has granted bail to 5 Dowen College students bail by the sum of 1 million naira each following a conspiracy and homicide charge made against them by police. The Chief Magistrate, Olatubosun Adeola, who heard the bail application, ordered the defendants to produce 2 sureties each in like sum, stating that one of each of the defendants' sureties must be their parents and must swear an affidavit of compliance. The minors have been remanded in a juvenile home since December 9th over the death of their schoolmate, Sylvester Oromoni. The magistrate also ordered the defendants to submit their travel passports to the court and their residence be verified by the prosecutor, adding that they must be within 2 kilometers of their residence at all times. A female soldier, Hannah Safiat, is still in detention after a video clip of her proposal to a youth corps member in Kwara State went viral. The soldier is accused of violating military rules and regulations. Dashan Husseina Usman meets with human rights activists who share their perspective on the issue.
The Nigerian army on Sunday detained a female soldier, Private Anna Sofiat A., after video clips of her being proposed to by a male corps member at the National Youth Service Corps Orientation Camp in Yikbata, Kwara State went viral on social media. The issue has stirred a lot of controversy. Some say she has the freedom to choose who she falls in love with, while others say the public display of affection is an insult to the Nigerian military. Some human rights activists also share their thoughts on the matter.
Rules are rules, yeah. They are meant to be kept, especially within the military circle and all. But in the past few years, where has those rules led us to? With the way, if you're doing something over and over again the same way and you're getting the same results, it's about time you step outside the box a bit so you get something totally different, and then see this is the era where we have to move away from the archaic way of doing things so much. We have to look at other countries and how they have handled their people. You should not just be looking at other countries, the negative parts. So it won't hurt, or it didn't hurt to see. I think I read one of those posts. I saw the comments, and then people were actually really happy that, oh, so the military has a soul to read. Marriage is something that is respected anyway, and this is a process to get into that point. So why is it such? It's such a crime that you're detaining these people when we have more serious things to think about. How about we put the same energy into fighting Boko Haram, into fighting the attacks that we have every other day on Abuja, Kaduna Road?
I think some mistakes were made, mistakes that emotions got the soldier carried away, sadly, and in uniform. she got swept by emotions and did things that their rules forbid. For instance, that's the Nigerian Army, prestigious Nigerian Army uniform she was wearing. I'm minded by the fact that emotions and sentiments here and there is such that to leave her alone, I'm minded by that fact, and I'm minded that because we are a people mostly ruled by sentiments, this may not be a very popular position, but you see, we have to face facts. Rules are there, put in place, and the standard expected of a civilian is not the same standard expected of a soldier. Before you enlist into the army, the rules and regulations are there and you sign up to it. There is a Latin maxim in law, voluntas non fit injuria. It simply means once you've waived your rights by signing up to the army, for instance, you really can no longer complain about the injury of you not being allowed to express yourself in the way you wish to express. There are several reasons why rules and regulations are put in place in the affair of man, especially also in the military. It is so that a certain standards of discipline and even protection of the personnel is also guaranteed.
Senator representing Rivers East Senatorial District, Senator George Sekibo, has confirmed that some senators are planning to veto President Muhammadu Buhari on the 2021 Electoral Act Amendment Bill. President Buhari had written the National Assembly informing them of his decision to withhold his assent to the bill. The letter is read on the floor on Tuesday, prompting the Senate to go into a closed-door session as requested by Senator Sekibo. Senator Sekibo confirmed the planned veto after the end of the closed-door session. He said they have already compiled 73 signatures to veto the president. The 109-member Senate will require a two-thirds majority to veto the bill into law.
In the past few weeks, it has been a general debate by all Nigerians, and every Nigerian wants direct primaries. So what are his reasons why he didn't assent to it? And that is the only major reason he has. It shouldn't be so. When Nigerians say this is what we want, we are here representing these people. We are not representing ourselves. I am here representing about 2.5 million people from Rivers State. And if what they say is that they need direct primaries, why will Mr. President said he doesn't want direct primaries? The country is not its own limited liability company. This is a country, and this is a chamber. So the Senate ought to override him. That's the simple truth. We should, by the law, we have the power to override him. That was what section 58, 4 and 5 said. So if the constitution give us the provision to do so, we use our powers to do it. And they are saying that it must be people present and voting. But our rules give us 3 methods of voting. One method is first vote. Another method is by signing a document, a signature. The third method is electronics. So we can use anyone. If we have the two-third on signature, you take it. Now American president sitting in the Senate for all the voting. They can be anywhere and press their buttons and vote. They can be anywhere and give their even aides to go and vote for them. So why are we taking ourselves back as if we are village people? We've gotten more than 73% required to override the veto.
The Senate also adjourned its session till tomorrow. Governors have commended President Muhammadu Buhari for withholding assent to the Electoral Act Amendment Bill. The chairman of the Nigeria Governors Forum and Governor of Ekiti State, Kayode Fayemi, stated this on behalf of his counterparts while responding to questions from State House correspondents after meeting with President Muhammadu Buhari at the presidential villa Abuja on Tuesday. He said governors are not fixated on any mode of primary election to choose candidates of political parties, adding that direct primary, indirect primary and consensus as different modes of producing candidates for major elections have their peculiar challenges. Fayemi also dismissed the notion that direct primary has solution to all challenges affecting the electoral process in the country, stressing that the governor's interest and concern is that opportunities should be given for an inclusive process. Meanwhile, the Nigerian Senate has confirmed the Taraba State nominee Muazu Sambo as a minister. This is following his screening by the Senate at the Committee of the Whole, during which he answered questions by some senators. Sambo, ushered into the Hall chamber of the Senate by the Senior Special Assistant to the President on National Assembly Matters, Senator Babajide Omoworare, answered questions from lawmakers. Muazu Sambo said he will crack the issues hindering the progress of the Mambila Power Project within 1 year.
It has been on the drawing board from the days of the First Republic. And if in 2021 we are still talking about Mambila hydroelectric power project not taking off the ground, it is indeed a very, very sad day for Nigerians. I share these sentiments. Now, I am aware that the major constraint against further progress or the taking off of these projects has been the arbitration case in Paris.
Chamber confirmed Muazu Sambo's nomination as a minister.
Nominee for appointment as Minister of the Government of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. The nominee answered questions from the Sungu senators on a number of topical issues. Thereafter, the committee approved the nomination of Muazu Judges Sambo from Taraba State as Minister of the Government of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Is this a true reflection of what transpired in the Committee of the Whole?
Is to replace Mamman Saleh, who has been dropped as minister last September by President Muhammadu Buhari.
Will the Senate confirm the nomination of Muazu Judge Sambo from Taraba State as a Minister of the Government of the Federal Republic of Nigeria? Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. The nomination of Muazu Judge Sambo from Taraba State is hereby confirmed as a Minister of the Government of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Now, more than 800,000 residents were forcibly evicted from informal settlements in Abuja, Nigeria, from 2003 to 2007 during the administration of FCT Minister Nasiru Ahmed El-Rufai. However, this move has not succeeded in the thorough evacuation of these settlers who come to the capital city from all over Nigeria in search of greener pastures. Take a look.
This is the road leading to MAP Global Extension in Gwarimpa Metropolis. Within these trees are human inhabitants. It's a community of shack dwellers, 80% from the north. They call it Bacha. The glitches, it's provisional. Most of them leave their states to the federal capital with a hope for greener pastures.
Shine kuma wanda ya ba mu gurin asali mu zauna shine sarkin gwari ya kira mu ya tara mu ya ba mu notice cewa an ba mu sati daya amma ya kara muna kwana 26 yau muna 13 ga wata kaga ya rage muna yanzu kwana 13 ya rage muna.
The Federal Capital Territory is a planned urban city that booms and bursts. This development has started here and has forced these dwellers to move.
Mu dai zama muke yi a gurin nan shekara ta 7 a gurin nan. Amma yanzu kai tsaye an zo an ce mana maza mu tashi. Mu kuma gashi ba mu da yadda zamu yi. An ce a tashi ga marayu a gabana. Ni kuma yanzu ba da yadda zan yi hakan nan dai muna tuku mu samu inda muka laba kafin Allah ya hore mana.
Sana bi na wuri.
na ba da kudin bacha haya kuma yanzu an zo za a yi mamu dan rusa ko kudin ma ba a maida mana ba yadda ma za kai ma ka buga bachan ma aiki.
Mu dai mun zo ne mun nemi arziki a nan an ba mu. Yau shekarar ni shekara ta biyu a nan da. Kuma gaskiya mai gidana ba shi da kwakwarar sana'a. Ga yara ba mu da shi ba mu da yanda za mu yi. Yawwa shine muke neman inda halin za a iya mana taimako a iya mana.
These assemblage of women are waiting to get their load moved to a safe bunker before knowing what to do next. I met Fatima, who is from Kano State, that allowed me film her but refused an interview. This stifling, messy and confined shack is her abode. She has lived here for 3 years and birthed all of her 3 children under this roof. Children playing games, young adults accumulating plastic bottles for sales and recycling.
Kukan da muka kawo, mu talakoki ne, kuma mu masu kudin nan da mu suke takama, tunda duk aikin leburanci za a yi muke yin shi da mazajenmu, kuma an ban mu da yunwa, ga rashin gurin zama duk inda muka zauna gwamnati sai a kore mu. A ina za mu zauna? Me za mu ci? Nan kuma birnin tarayya ne, an ce kuma tarayya ne, kowa da talaka da mai kuɗi ya zo ya zauna. To kuma mun zo mun zauna ana cin albarkacin juna, amma kuma ana koran mu.
I don't live in this very place, but I live very close to this place. So actually, what is happening here is that we learned that they asked the people of this place to vacate. And some people are saying that even they should vacate, that they want to put shops here. A lot of shops, and they are asked to live by Galadima chief. So this all the story all around. But actually this place, we all know belongs to government. The place belongs to government, and even the shop they said they want to put is still an illegal structure. So at least a lot of people are making comments on this that you see, I think it is illegal government that have the power to give people space and also ask them to leave. So, but some people are complying, while some people don't have where to go. So I think a lot of people are making a complaint that, this is not good, this is not the best. You are moving person illegally and still bringing an illegal structure. So that is the point that a lot of people are not happy with.
There are thousands of settlements like this scattered within the federal capital. The question is, will these settlers continue to move from one spot to another?
Executive Director of the National Primary Healthcare Development Agency, Faisal Shuaib, says unvaccinated people have a greater likelihood of dying from COVID-19. Shuaib stated this on Tuesday in Abuja, shortly after President Buhari received his booster shot. He said COVID-19 is now mostly a disease of the unvaccinated people, adding that the vaccine has the ability to protect those vaccinated from severe forms of COVID-19, adding that data has shown that out of every 10 people who died of the virus, 8 are unvaccinated. Shuaib said Nigeria now has enough COVID-19 vaccines to get all citizens vaccinated. Meanwhile, the value of the naira at the foreign exchange market is becoming a source of concern, especially for those whose business is importing goods into the country. Car sellers in Gombe said the current value of the naira against the American dollar is affecting their business. Ibrahim Ismail now reports.
According to data obtained on the website of the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, on Monday, the official exchange rate is at 411 naira per dollar, but the black market rate is between 572 naira and 573 naira. Car sellers in Gombe said the depreciation of the Nigerian currency is taking its toll on their businesses. Price of cars has changed, but the price has not changed where we used to buy abroad. The reason for the price increase in Nigeria is connected to the depreciation of the naira.
Tsadan mota a Nigeria ba dalan nan yadda darajar kudin mu ya lalace shine yake kawo asalin tsadan motoci domin gaskiya misali da
A car that sold 500,000 naira before now sells 1.5 million. The price had tripled because of the depreciation of the naira. The exchange rate of naira to a dollar was 160 naira or whereabout, but now it is over 500 naira. If we exchange, the money will triple or more than that. So that's the reason. The effect is that someone who was eligible to buy a car in the past will not have money to do so today. Talk less of addressing some of his needs. Such affected our business and we lose customers. Not like before, when you can sell between 10 to 15 cars in a week. But because of the hike in prices of cars, which affects people economically, you hardly sell 1 to 15 cars in a week. This is the situation now. In July, the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, suspended sale of forex to bureau de change operators across the country. Black market operators have a different exchange rate from that of the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, and Nigerians complain of high cost of living due to the inflation of price of commodities in the market. From Gombe, Ibrahim Ismail for Trust TV.
And now a look at the foreign scene, where Libya's head of High National Electoral Commission, Imad Al-Saih, has ordered the dissolution of the electoral committees nationwide in a move that effectively postpones this week's presidential elections. A statement by Al-Saih said electoral committees and the administrative officers are ordered to go back to their positions before the elections. There has been no comment yet from Libya's President Mohammed Yunus Menfi, who is in Cairo for a meeting with his Egyptian counterpart Abdel Fattah el-Sisi. Disputes about fundamental rules governing the election have continued throughout the process, including over the voting timetable, the eligibility of the main candidates, and the eventual powers of the next president and parliament. Permanent representative of Pakistan to the United Nations, Munir Akram, has said that harder measures must be taken to avoid the Afghanistan crisis from worsening. He made the statement in an interview on Monday. The report.
More and harder measures must be taken to avoid the Afghanistan crisis from worsening. The permanent representative of Pakistan to the United Nations, Munir Akram, told Xinhua in an interview on Monday.
Afghanistan is in crisis. It's a humanitarian crisis as well as an economic crisis, facing the possibility of a total economic collapse. If that happens, there is a likelihood of a large-scale outflow of refugees from Afghanistan, and this will of course affect neighboring countries, Pakistan, Iran and other countries, but also the rest of the world, because migration will take place to Europe and to other places. So there will be a migration crisis. If there is an economic collapse, it could revert to a conflict situation. And if it reverts to conflict and chaos, there is a likelihood of the strengthening of criminal behavior such as narcotics smuggling, as well as a strengthening of some of the terrorist groups which are still in Afghanistan.
Akram stated that Pakistan has established an air bridge between Islamabad and Kabul to transport urgently needed medicines and food. Akram also urged the Organization of Islamic Cooperation countries to join together to help Afghanistan for the humanitarian needs.
Now let's join Adeni Ajishafe for the latest sports news.
Hello and welcome to Sport News. The Lagos State government will open 8 new stadia in 2022 in different parts of the state to boost grassroots sports. Director General of Lagos State Sports Commission, Tony Gafaro, says work has reached advanced stage in 5 of the 8 new stadia, while construction work will start in the remaining 3 soon. Work has started in the facility at Igbobo, Ikorodu, Badagry, Ifako-Ijaye Sports Center, Ajiromi Stadium, Ajegunle and Epe, while the proposed sites to be used in Mile 12, Sari, Igondo, and Ogombo, Lekki will also be attended so in the next few weeks. Gafaru says the target in each of the stadia is 5,000 capacity, which will start gradually with 1,200 and leave room for regular upgrading of the stadia depending on the responses of fans. There will be tracks at each of the stadia which are aimed for community use and improvement in youth participation in athletics. Olympic-sized swimming pools at Roe Park in Yaba is 80% completed, while that of Teslim Balogun Stadium will be given a facelift to conform with others in many parts of the world. To create an enabling environment for coaches all over the state to groom talent from tender age without much troubles on facilities and a means of catching them young. Confederation of African Football President Patrice Motsepe on Monday confirmed that the 2022 African Cup of Nations will kick off on January 9, 2022 as scheduled. Despite enormous pressure from European clubs and World Football Governing Body FIFA about the postponement of AFCON, Motsepe commends host nation Cameroon for their effort in ensuring necessary facilities are in place for a secure and entertaining African Nations Cup. Cameroon have shown that Africans can host big international competitions despite challenges posed by COVID-19 pandemic. It is a Club World Cup, which is due to begin on February 3, 2022 and overlaps with the conclusion of AFCON. Those for AFCON holding as scheduled argue that Africa does not have the same COVID-19 spread rate as Europe and other parts of the world, as European Championship held in the thick of the virus in the summer. FIFA President Gianni Infantino says World Cup every 2 years will create a $3.5 billion solidarity scheme to support football in less developed countries, as it is about opportunity for all. Infantino presented a feasibility study into biennial Men's World Cup to international federations on Monday, with a combined additional $4.4 billion in revenue from the first four cycle, a 62% increase from current levels. Infantino says the growth in revenue would enable the creation of new funds, which will support individual associations and allow for a developmental scheme for players and coaches. In October, Infantino had apparently stepped back from a biennial World Cup after it was vehemently opposed by UEFA and the South American Federation CONMEBOL, and many other critical voices. Infantino says at the time that the plans could go ahead only if they bring everyone together. Separate studies conducted by UEFA and the World Leagues Forum had claimed a World Cup every 2 years will have substantial financial impact on regional associations and on club competitions. That's Sport News. I am Adeni Ajishafe.
And that wraps up Trust TV News Hour for tonight. For more news, you can follow us and subscribe on all our social media platforms. I am Ibrahim Yusuf. Thanks for watching.